Servant leadership is a sacrificial service done for others. On August 28, 1963, Martin Luther King Jr., before nearly 300,000 people, made his iconic and most famous speech, "I have a dream." He said, "This nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal." This address was a spirited call for peace and equality. For all of his hard work and dedication, he received a number of awards: the John F. Kennedy Award in 1964, the Grammy Award in 1970, and the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 1977. In 1963, he was named Man of the Year by the Time magazine. At the age of 35, Martin Luther King Jr. became the youngest man to receive the Nobel Prize. He donated the prize money for the civil rights movement. What is more inspiring was that Dr. King asked that he not be remembered for the prizes and accolades he won in life, but rather that he be remembered as a drum major for justice. He said, "To be great, we need to do only one thing: serve." A beautiful example of servant leadership. The greatest example of servant leadership is certainly Jesus. In the Gospel according to St. Mark, chapter 10, the sons of Zebedee make a selfish request for key positions in the messianic political kingdom. But Jesus challenges his followers to become great by serving others and with sacrificial love. In the Gospel according to St. Mark, chapter 10, verse 43, Jesus said, "Whoever wishes to be great must be a servant, and whoever wishes to be first must be the slave of all." That is servant leadership, and he taught this not only in words but also by his life. He said, "For the Son of Man came not to be served but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many." In the time of Jesus, ransom was the price paid to free someone from slavery. Sometimes the ransomer offered himself as a substitute for the slave, and that is what Jesus did. Jesus describes leadership as a sacrificial service done for others. Jesus was already portrayed as a suffering servant by prophet Isaiah. In the book of prophet Isaiah, chapter 53, verse 11, we read, "Through his suffering my servant shall justify many, and their guilt he shall bear." This is the messianic prophecy about the suffering servant, and this is the fourth servant song we see in the book of prophet Isaiah. It tells us how the promised Messiah will save humankind by dying in atonement for our sins. Jesus has done this out of love for us, becoming the suffering servant, crucified as an offering for sin, interceding for us and taking our punishment on himself. In the letter to the Hebrews, chapter 4, verse 14 onwards, we read, "Let us hold fast to our confession, for we do not have a high priest who is unable to sympathize with our weaknesses." Jesus, our high priest, sympathizes with us and has offered a fitting sacrifice to God to ransom us. The servant leadership of Jesus pinpoints service and sacrifice as the criteria of greatness in his kingdom. The recent theory of servant leadership of Robert Greenleaf also states that the most effective leaders are servants of their people. Jesus commands us to give ourselves to others in loving and humble service, and so to liberate them just as we were freed by Jesus' death. Let us proclaim with the psalmist, "The eyes of the Lord are upon those who fear him, upon those who hope for his kindness."